Hey everyone, welcome to the Portal of World channel. In this video, I'll show and explain briefly how I made Optimus Prime in Blender. Or rather, I'll tell you about my struggles with it. So let's get into it. Overall, the whole 3D thing was completely new to me, and 3D modeling even more so, because all my 3D modeling experience was limited to a car like this or a donut. Naturally, I didn't even know where to start, so I went straight to ChatGPT.
But in every single message, he'd end with, "You'd better not make Optimus Prime. You'd better make something of your own, or make your own robot."
Yeah, right, like I'd listen to him. Of course, the very first thing I did was add pictures of Optimus to Blender, which is what I'll be using to make him. To add a picture like that, go to your Blender project, click Add, choose Image, and click Reference. Then a window with your desktop will open. Choose your picture, then adjust it however you like, and you're good to go. To find high quality pictures of Optimus, we go to Pinterest, type in Optimus Prime G1, and as we can see, there are really high quality pictures here and from all angles, just what we need. Now let's move on to actually drawing the Optimus model. Since I'm a creative person with an imagination, it wasn't hard for me. I look at the picture and do it. Here in Fast Forward, I'll show you how I make one part of Optimus's head. As we can see, we mostly add a cube, adjust the size a bit. We switch to edit mode and start working there, and mostly with vertices. We look at the image and work. Like here we lower it, here raise it, here we change something else. Basically like this. We look and we do. As you may have noticed, we might not have enough of the vertices that are already on the object, and we need to add more. To do this, select the edge where you want to add a vertex. Right-click and go to the first item, Subdivide, and we get one vertex. If you need more, keep going. Select the edge and add more. Here's another thing. Once we've extruded the window slots on the body, they turn out square. But this Optimus has slightly rounded corners. What should we do? Select our body, go into edit mode, select the inner edges of these windows, press Ctrl B and drag with the mouse. Then they start to round out slightly. To add or reduce polygons, just scroll the mouse wheel and adjust it to your liking, however you prefer. Here in Fast Forward, I'm showing how I make the leg. There's really nothing complicated here, especially in the upper part of the leg. Here, we just need to tweak the shape a bit. But we'll have to play around with the bottom one. There, well, that just depends on the person. If you're as picky as I am with myself, then yeah, because as you can see, I'm here several times reworking the shape, because there I made the cut too high, there too low, there I didn't quite pull it off. But overall, we just look at the picture and do it. There's really nothing complicated here. Next, I started making the hands, but decided that making them like his in the original wasn't great because they're too human. And I decided to make them like this, like a robot. I will next. That was a mistake. As usual, we take a cube and start shaping it slightly into a palm. Then, to create the fingers, we go into edit mode and add some cuts. Now, the first mistake I made here was not adding cuts for the spacing between the fingers, because they ended up being right up against each other. But here's another issue. Take a closer look at the palm. What's wrong here? There are 5 fingers facing the same way. By then, it was too late. By the time I noticed it,
even though I had already, like, I made half a palm. I just deleted it, closed Blender, and went to bed. Honestly, I wanted to do that with everything, since it was already the 4th day of me working on Optimus. After I finished modeling Optimus, all that was left was to add these patterns. I thought maybe I could paint them on somehow. I mean, you can, but it didn't look great. So, with my genius brain, I figured out I could do it by cutting them out. Yeah, that sounded a bit wrong. Let's say we select the hips, go into edit mode, and start working with the knife tool. Well, and not only that. We make multiple cuts to get the shape we need. As you can see, like a true artist, using a knife, I drew lines to get more even shapes so they match each other. Though, as I said, I'm just a picky person and try to make it look as nice as possible. Next, once we've, so to speak, drawn them, we select these shapes and push them in slightly so that later when we add the outlines, they traced them. Now let's move on to adding materials. Since I already have them added everywhere here, I'll show you an example. For instance, I'll take the glass material. Since my glass isn't a separate object, to add a material specifically to it, I select Optimus's body, go into edit mode, and select only the glass there. Then I add a new material and make sure to click Assign. Next, to set up our cartoonish material, we go to Shading and work with this material. As we can see, we already have, this is the base, and to add the nodes we need, we press Shift A. And first we add shader to RGB and then a color ramp and start setting it up. And make sure to add the constant value. Next, we add enough to have about 3 colors. We take a sort of bluish cyan color and then copy and paste it for the other color and just make it slightly darker. And we do the same with the third color. Now let's go back to our main page. As we can see, for some reason, the shades aren't showing up. So here we tweak it a bit and we get this kind of cartoonish material. I thought the hardest and scariest part was behind me, but I was wrong. All I have left to do is the skeleton for Optimus. Naturally, I wanted to make my life a bit easier, so ChatGPT recommended this site where you upload your character from Blender and it automatically creates a skeleton for your character. So I actually uploaded Optimus to this site and it even created a decent skeleton. But there's just one little problem, that somehow we can see that during movements, Optimus's body parts stretch and compress, which they shouldn't because he's a robot. So this option is out because this skeleton is designed more for humans or, living creatures that have a human-like body. Well, it doesn't work for a robot, so I had to make Optimus' skeleton manually. But if anyone happens to find this feature useful, let's take a look. We go into our Blender project where we have our character and select only the character itself. Once we've selected it, we click on File, Export, and choose the FBX format. Next, a window like this opens up, where we name our file, choose where to save it, like the desktop or some folder, and make sure to check selected objects only, so only that gets saved. Now we go back to the website, click Upload Character,
and select the file we just exported from Blender. Next, once our character is uploaded, we place the markers following these instructions so it can generate the automatic skeleton. Some on the wrist, some on the elbow, and so on. Next, we click Next and wait for the skeleton to be created.
A few moments later.
But as I already said, this option isn't really suitable for a robot. Now let's move on to a more practical option. We go into our Optimus project and click Add. Select Armature. We get a bone like this added. Now in this section, select In Front so we can see our bone even when it's inside the body. Now, so we don't have to add a new bone every time, we select the one we already have, go to Edit. In Edit mode, we select the bottom sphere, so to speak, select this tool and drag it down. This gives us a new bone. As we can see, this method doesn't work for fingers, so we create a new bone for them. Once we've made, so to speak, a mini skeleton for the fingers, we switch to object mode, select the finger bone, then hold Shift, select the hand bone and press Ctrl P, thereby making them parented, because we're supposed to have just one skeleton. But even so, when we move the palm in pose mode, the finger will stay in place. And to prevent that from happening, select our armature, switch to edit mode, select the tip of the thumb, like in the video. Next, hold Shift, select the palm, Ctrl P, and keep offset. Now we have the thumb parented specifically to the palm, and when the palm moves, it will move with it. But at the same time, when moving the thumb, the palm will stay in place. As you can see, the bone is still moving on its own, without moving the actual finger yet. Now, using the hand as an example, I'll show you how to parent a specific body part to a specific bone. We take in turn each part, even of the hand, must be a separate object so that we can bind it to a specific bone. Now select the specific part of the hand, Shift and select our skeleton. Next, go to Pose mode, select the bone we want to bind this body part to, Ctrl plus P, and Bone. Now when this bone moves, this body part will move too. In my case, the palm is a single object, so I can't bind the bone to the fingers right now. So I select the palm, go to Edit mode, and using edges or faces, I select one finger phalanx, I press P, select, and that makes this phalanx a separate object. And after that, I can already bind this phalanx to its bone. And this is where the most interesting, or rather the hardest part for me begins. When bending the fingers, a hole like this forms. Naturally, I immediately started looking into AI and asking how to make this all look nice. I watched some videos on YouTube and I got so desperate because I just wasted about 4 or 5 hours just to I tried every single option I could find online. And then just by chance, as I'm scrolling through TikTok, I come across a video where the creator also made a short animation. Guess what? With a 3D Optimus, a 3D model of Optimus, also made in Blender, I think. And in that video, you could see the hand and how it moves. And based on that video, I made something like this. You're probably wondering what this is. These are the webs between the fingers, specifically a cylinder tapered at one end. A sphere is added to the tapered end, and when it moves, it'll look something like this. Yeah, it's not perfect, and I'd even say I don't really like it, but it's the best option I found. It's definitely better than having gaps between the fingers. This is done quickly. Just like at the beginning, we add a cylinder, make one end narrow, add a sphere to the narrow end, and now select the sphere, shift, cylinder, Control P, and object. Now our sphere is parented to the cylinder, and we do the same with the cylinder. Select cylinder, shift the finger phalanx it needs to be parented to, Control P, object, and now when moving it, we'll see this result. Now we add this weird object of ours between all the finger phalanges. And the last thing I want to mention about the skeleton. Now we're adding a new bone for the chest. Once we've placed it inside, we make it a single object with the already finished arm skeleton. Next, we parent the chest to this bone. And there's an important point here. We need to make the bone, the hand, to be dependent on the chest bone and not the other way around, so that when the torso bends, the hand follows it. And later on, for example, when we make the bone for the torso, we need to understand that the upper torso bone depends on the lower one, not the other way around. And it's important to always remember this for everything else as well. And the last thing left to add is a nice outline that will highlight our Optimus. In our Blender project, we click Add, Grease Pencil, and select Scene Line Art. This means that an outline is added to all objects on the scene. Now let's increase the radius a bit, because our Optimus is quite large, and it looks pretty nice. But keep in mind that the lines are only visible to the camera. So as you can see, there are no lines at the bottom. And that's it. Our Optimus is ready. Well, or rather mine. This is all the video footage from the entire time working with Optimus. I even took the trouble to calculate how much time I spent. And based on these videos, I spent over 16 hours. And that's not even counting how much time I spent on editing. Our videos, which by the way are quite a few, and during the entire time I worked, I listened to these two playlists probably about 3 times each, and it really added a great vibe. Thanks to everyone who watched this video to the end. I'd advise you not to make my mistakes, specifically don't even start doing this, and have a great day everyone.
Autobots, transform and roll out!